welcome to our first installment of Marnie and Michael Mondays.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. I'm sure there'll be like a cute name for it at some point. We can call it M cubed. Yep, that's 3, M cubed. But you guys gave us a lot of great suggestions when I asked in the June favorites video what you wanted to see. These videos aren't gonna completely replace the vlogs. They will come back, but we felt like this would be a great opportunity to have a little more personal, more chatty video that's not specific to makeup or fashion. And that way you get to see Michael a little more often.
At least weekly.
At least weekly. So we thought, well, is this your idea or my idea?
I think it was your idea, but I agreed to it. You're doing a great job getting the name out.
No, the topic.
Oh, the topic?
Was that yours or mine?
I think you had said that you had gotten...
No, this was your idea. Marnie Michael Mondays was most definitely your idea.
Well, maybe it was my idea in concept, but I think the topic today was one that
yes,
you had received from a lot of your fans and viewers.
Let's not call them fans.
Okay.
They're friends.
Friends.
Fans is
friends
weird.
and viewers.
Okay. So we thought we'd start at the beginning, so to speak, and
Yeah.
talk about newlywed advice. And I want to make it really clear that this is not meant to be a lecture where I'm like, you need to do this. Everybody's different. What works for us, what has worked for us, might not work for you. What's working for you might not work for us. We're just giving you our life experience. Like, this is what we've tried. It's worked really well for us. And unfortunately, because we've been married almost, how long have we been married? 18 years.
18
almost
years.
20 years.
Yeah.
We've been together 21.
Been together 21
We've also
years.
seen a lot of marriages fail. And
Yeah.
we've kind of learned, the behind the scenes, what are some of the things that made them kind of fall apart. I would highly recommend that you go back and watch an old video of mine called What to Look For in a Spouse. This will kind of piggyback off that.
Right.
I'll link that around here and in the description box. And so we are going to talk about newlywed advice.
And I would also say, we're probably not the best parents in the world, and maybe we don't have the most amazing relationship, but one thing is for sure is...
What kind of caveat is that?
No, I mean, I love you personally, and you love me, and we have a great family dynamic with our
Yes.
kids. So, like I said, some people may do things differently, and depending upon how you gauge success, some people may feel like other relationships or other families are more successful. So this is...
We're going to gauge
a
our
little bit
success in that
subjective.
we're still married and none of our children have been arrested.
And we still love each other.
So far. So that's
we want
it.
to be with each other.
Yeah. Okay. So, we'll see how things turn out. So far, not so bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are our top 5 suggestions for newlyweds, or we're just going to assume they're newlyweds. If you're living together and not married, you can use this, I guess, too, but it's not quite the same. They're not in any particular order, and one is no more important than the other.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot more we could talk about, but in the interest of keeping this video under an hour, we're going to stick with 5. So, do you want to start since I've
Sure.
been talking my head off?
Okay, so the first thing that we put down, which is in no particular order, is one person handles the money, but both people know the process and the plan.
This is on the topic of, or kind of like, too many witches spoil the brew, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You want to expand?
I think that, I think y'all have to be on the same page. We've benefited from kind of being on the same page in terms of managing our lifestyle and understanding what we can afford and what we can't afford. But kind of the day-to-day or week-to-week or month-to-month protocol of actually paying the bills and administering the accounts, writing the checks, that's worked better for us by having one person kind of take ownership over that process, while we always, every day, multiple times a day, collaborate over things that we're doing that require us to expend money. I think we've benefited, and in our case, I've been kind of naturally accustomed to
This is more your thing.
doing
your
that
strength.
kind of stuff. I have a
definitely your
financial
strength.
services background, and kind of consumer economics is something that I'm, quasi-expert in. And so we benefited from that.
Yeah, and we will do a whole separate budget video and how we budget and how we plan.
Right.
But just for this one is, and this is kind of, what's worked for us is all of our assets are commingled, and
Definitely.
it's not my money and his money, it's our money and my money. No, I'm kidding.
It's your money, and I'm just the money manager.
What's his is mine, and what's mine is mine. No.
Yeah.
We've commingled everything from the beginning, from the very first day we were married.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I wired all of my earnings into a joint account that he had set up right before we got married.
And bought you a Honda Civic with it.
You did.
Yeah.
But my point is, we've seen marriages fall apart when people get territorial over their assets. That's a whole separate thing. But for this particular thing, all of our assets are combined. We have various checking and savings accounts and things like that. But as far as who sits down and pays the bills every month, it's this guy. I know all the accounts, I open up all the mail, I have all the passwords, I know what's going on. We have monthly and weekly budget meetings, but as far as the person who physically sits down and does it is this guy.
Yeah.
It could have just as easily been me, but he likes that kind of thing, so it makes him happy to tick all the boxes and fill out all the forms, so he does it.
I'm much more type A, and yeah, maybe that's an understatement. I've got the military background. And the financial background, so but it made sense for us. I would just recommend that even if you don't have that kind of subject matter, neither the husband or the wife have that kind of a background, somebody still needs to step up and take ownership, because as Marnie indicated earlier, the reality is the days of the month kind of start accruing, and if you've got multiple people trying to manage the process,
you'll either both miss a payment, or you'll overpay, or you'll bounce checks.
You won't administer it.
But I cannot stress enough, whoever does the bill paying, both parties need to have everybody's name on the bank accounts, everybody knows the passwords and the login. Keep a little book somewhere. You keep that all written down, because God forbid something happens to the person writing the checks. You can't even get into your accounts.
That's
and
true.
we've seen that happen too. It was very sad. It was horrible. So that's that. Okay. Number 2.
Why don't you take this one, since you're the...
Do not even.
I won't say it, but...
Number 2, you will...
This is your bailiwick, I would say.
You will fight. You will have knockdown, drag out. And I don't mean that literally. Figuratively. You should never lay hands on each other unless in a loving way. You will have fights, and that is completely okay and normal. I've had friends early on in their marriage, they never saw their parents fight for whatever reason. That's just completely unnatural.
It's unnatural.
And so they thought that being married was all out of a Disney movie, and you wake up and the bluebirds are singing and the flowers are strewn across the bed, and some days are like that, but more often than not,
there's a little passion associated with it.
Real life gets in the way, and there are moments, as Chris Rock said, to paraphrase Chris Rock, you've never truly been in love unless you've contemplated homicide.
That's crazy. I haven't really personally felt that way, but I know you're more passionate about it than I am.
With great passion comes both sides of that spectrum, and as much as I love you, there have been many times where I've envisioned your head exploding. Anyway,
I know.
But the reality is that it's okay to fight, as long as you don't fight dirty, and you know going into it that it's a safe place. You're not going to break up. This isn't like dating. You're in this forever. So you're allowed to disagree and be completely irrational. A few times a month, once a month for us girls.
And what I would say, and this, take it as y'all would like, but I would say some advice to the guys: let the wife, let the women fight a little harder, and just kind of take it with a grain of salt. The reality, as Marnie indicated,
we're a little more emotional.
We've got a lot of confidence in our relationship. I'm super attracted to you, both emotionally and physically, and so you should have supreme confidence that the relationship transcends everything. And so a little bit of venting, and like I said, from the guy's perspective, let the women vent a little bit, and you don't have to go tit for tat and toe to toe on it.
Right.
It makes for an easier fight.
Don't go to bed angry though. Like, don't let it simmer.
No.
Just as passionate as you feel about your position, be willing to completely abandon it also.
You've done that a lot,
I
right?
do.
Yeah.
I capitulate a lot, even though I'm always right.
Okay.
Okay. This is your thing.
Be a good roommate. Yeah. So, this kind of is born out of my experience in college, right? Where I had a roommate in college who literally drew a line down the middle of the hall, down the middle of the room, kind of demarcating it with masking tape to indicate whose stuff and what side is his and what side is mine. And so that was a little extreme, but one thing you take away from that is, you know what? Try to be respectful of the person that you're living with and be a good roommate. I know, you're a lover, you're raising a family, you're a spouse.
Partner.
But, with that also, you have to respect the space that you're living in. The physical space has to be comfortable for everybody. And so my rule of thumb has always been, if I would personally feel uncomfortable with the space that I'm setting in our house, then I want to make sure I take action immediately to make it comfortable for me. And I know that I have a pretty high standard in terms of how I like the physical space.
Who's the slob? Just admit it. Who's the slob in the family?
So Marnie is definitely more the slob than I am, which, so my job's actually pretty easy, because if I just satisfy my standard, then
Well,
you're gonna feel pretty comfortable that I'm doing okay and I'm not being sloppy.
I mean, we're talking about like just being courteous, hanging up your clothes.
Or I do that for you sometimes.
You never hang up my clothes. You just throw them on the floor in a pile and say,
that's
hang
true.
them
I
up.
hang the kids up.
Putting the toilet seat up or down, although that I've given up on.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good. Jake's
You are,
probably
but the
worse on
kids
that.
not
Yeah.
so good. Just being generally neat.
Yeah.
If it would irritate you, then don't do it. You're lovers, your partners, you're co-parenting, whatever, but you're also roommates. And, if you would just imagine if you would be kinder to someone like a stranger, then something is wrong. So, clean your crap up. It's basically, make the bed.
Yeah. I would also, like Marnie indicated, a lot of times when you think about relationships and people that you love, you find yourself treating strangers, perfect strangers, or friends that aren't really family, better than you treat your spouse. You almost feel like the rules of engagement are gone once it's within the confines of your home.
Yeah.
So I think I always find myself continually trying to correct myself on that point to, hey, wait a minute, of all the people that I should be treating with the utmost respect, it should be my wife, and the kids, obviously.
The kids are lower on that scale.
Lower on the totem pole than the wife, I think.
Okay. This is a hallmark of our relationship.
Okay, yeah, why don't you talk about that?
Make routine activities the subject of a date. So, once you get married, real life steps in, and date nights and vacations and romantic getaways and sleeping in and brunch, poof.
Yeah.
Just poof. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
that's
right.
just not good. That's all over. But at least once the children show up, and in our case, our children showed up a year after we got married, so we have a very short window of
less than a year after.
No.
No?
People are gonna start counting backwards.
Okay, well, it was within.
Jake was born June 10th, and we celebrated our first anniversary June 21st.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Okay, I just don't want people to think we had some kind of weird shotgun. No.
11 days shy of.
We were engaged for 3 years. Clearly,
12 months.
Shotgun wedding.
No.
But my point is this: Friday night grocery shopping for us used to be like the pinnacle of our week.
Sure.
Even with
It's
the
a lot of
kids.
fun. Come with us in the bucket. Yeah.
Yeah, we put in the little bucket carrier when he was a baby. Sometimes we get a sitter.
I look forward to that. That was a great way to finish off a week for me.
One of our best date mornings, the way our synagogue is set up, is services are on Saturday mornings, but Sunday school is on Sundays, and it's from 9 to 12.
Yep, that's right.
And we live about half an hour away from our synagogue, so we drop our kids off at 9 o'clock, and then that's our date morning,
Yeah, that's right.
which could include brunch and going to Home Depot.
Or going to the farmer's markets.
Right, but errands.
Errands, or just
Yeah.
checking out new restaurants for breakfast. That's a good way to go to nicer restaurants
Breakfast
and
and
maybe
lunch.
budget it a little bit better. You just go get breakfast or brunch
Or lunch.
or lunch. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But the point is, don't try to make these, you don't have to make these grand romantic activities all the time. Sometimes just hanging out at the grocery store is all you're with the person you love the most in the world. Does it really matter where you are?
Yeah.
No.
I agree.
And that's what brings us to numero 5.
5. Yeah. Okay. Remember why you got married in the first place. No matter how busy
We wrote stuff down.
or how tired you get, make time for the physical stuff. Yeah. Okay. Bottom line is, I remember when I first
We aren't
saw
just
you.
roommates.
Yeah.
Let's keep this PG.
And no, I realize.
Or G even.
There are
Young
various
children.
elements to a relationship when you marry somebody, but at least for Marnie and I, the physical aspect of our relationship was an important initial part of it, and it continues to be an important part even as we've got kids that are growing up.
Yeah.
So I think it's just healthy for us. It works.
You are not, we said earlier to be a good roommate, but you're not just roommates.
No,
There
obviously
has
not.
to be a physical connection. And if
Yeah.
you want to think of it from a scientific level, human beings are mammals. We
Yeah.
are meant to be social animals. We require touch and interaction, physical interaction
Definitely.
for our health. If you want to think of it as more on the emotional side, you need that connection. And this is going to sound terrible, but women, ladies, sometimes you're just too tired. I remember when the kids were little, I used to joke that if I was going to be in bed, it was going to be with my eyes closed because I wanted to be sleeping.
It's true.
Not even when they were little. Let's just now.
That's true.
But the reality is sometimes you just have to do it even when you really don't want to.
Yeah.
And I promise,
Typically it doesn't apply
10
to men.
seconds
This is much
into
more
the
of a women's
activity,
comment.
10 seconds into the activity, you'll get into it, I promise.
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to recommend a frequency, but definitely, you know, make time for that activity whenever you can find the time to do it. For those of you with young children, take advantage of the time that they go to bed early, because when they are teenagers, they go to sleep later than you, and your window closes. It's tough.
And then
we're not going to talk too much about this.
You add pets to the mix, and
Oh
it gets a little complicated.
I wish I could tell you some stories.
The details, but it's I guess it's a personal issue between couples, marriages and relationships of this type. There's no question about it.
Right, and not just that. When we said, remember why you got married in the first place. When you're fighting, when you're tired, when you're frustrated, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and remember why you decided to commit to this person for the rest of your life. There had to have been a good reason, and you got to look at kind of the big picture. Don't let those little things, the little fights, get in the way. You usually don't fight about big, overarching subjects. You're going to fight about who didn't do the laundry, or who forgot to pick something up, or who didn't clean something up, or I don't even, what do we even fight about?
It's small stuff.
I mean, we do, but I don't even remember what it is.
Honestly, and it passes
his driving is terrible. I'm always yelling at him in the car.
Because usually you're yelling at me because I'm driving too slowly.
Too slow, but who got the speeding ticket?
But I just got a speeding ticket. So that blows your theory out completely.
Well, that was, yeah, but you said, and he texted me and said it was my fault, even though I wasn't even there, because you heard my voice in your head.
I always hear your voice in my head.
I'm not responsible for the voice.
It's the oddest thing, yeah. I'm either, what do they call it? I'm either schizophrenic, or I hear Marnie's voice in my head on a constant and habitual basis. You're basically my conscious, yeah.
I'm not taking responsibility for your decision making. Okay.
Right.
Anyway,
well, that was fun.
It was fun. We had fun. I hope you had fun. Yeah. We are going to make the topics more concrete. Like our budgeting tips are going to be specifically do this, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. We're going to come up with some parenting. They're tips. They're not like I said, directives, because trust me, we've made some major mistakes. Right. And because of, in the interest of our children's privacy, we aren't going to share those with you unless they tell us we can. But we've made more mistakes than good choices, I promise. So, you know, we're going to just share what's worked and maybe give you a few ideas on what hasn't worked. Yeah. Traveling tips, whatever. Just, you know, you gave us some good suggestions in the June favorites video, but please leave below stuff you want us to talk about. I mean, as long as it doesn't get too oddly personal, although clearly we're not afraid to go there. Yeah. We're happy to talk about it. Whatever we can do to help somebody out there.
Sure.
And you really never know what you're wondering about. I bet there's lots of other people in the world that are wondering the same thing. We don't know everything, but we certainly have an opinion on everything. Or at least I do.
We've got an idea about what's worked good for us and maybe what hasn't worked so well.
Right. So with that, we're going to say goodbye.
Okay.
And the two of us will see you next Monday, same time, same channel, and I will see y'all on Wednesday. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye. So what I thought I would do is go page by page through this and kind of highlight some of my picks. And if my fancy editing skills are up to par, I may even pop a little something maybe around here to show you what I'm talking about.